And a good Thursday morning, Quad Cities. The time right now is 9 o'clock. I'm meteorologist Andrew Stutzke alongside
Peter Warner, weather anchor Peter Warner.
Yes, and we are glad to be with you here on this Thursday morning. What we're going to be discussing is, of course, the big threat of severe weather as we head into tomorrow. It's been amazing to see the escalation here. Just alone in the last 24 hours.
Yes, sorry, my volume's up. I'm keeping tabs on the Facebook so I can answer your question.
Yes.
But yeah, it's been crazy. Jumping to a level 4 now.
Yeah.
Potentially.
And we've been talking about how rare a level 4 risk is. And we maybe see 1 or 2 level 4s a year. Some years we go seeing no level 4s. But I think the craziest thing about this whole system is the fact that we're seeing it this early in the game.
I know. Typically, we don't see these types of systems, at least in this portion of the United States, till late March, maybe early April, once that moisture and warmth starts to make its way further north. But we're seeing it really early this year.
Exactly. We're about a month ahead of time. So both of us going to get you prepared, not scared, as we get into tomorrow, because knowledge is power, and the more knowledge you have about what's going to unfold here tomorrow, we think the better off you'll be, the better prepared you will be for what's going to be coming through, because we're not taking tomorrow lightly at all. Anytime a 4 out of 5 risk is issued, even a day in advance, is a pretty serious scenario. And that means we're going to be dealing with some dangerous thunderstorms as we get into tomorrow. So let's start off with a reminder of our weather impact alert and when that's going to start, when it's going to conclude. Also, a reminder at the bottom of your screen, too, is that phone number. If you've got questions about what's going to happen tomorrow, the arrival time maybe for your hometown, we're going to be covering that. But if you have other questions like what should I be doing if I live in a mobile home? What should I be doing if I'm in a manufactured home? What about if I'm going to be traveling? What about if I'm working? We're going to answer all of those here. We've got the next 30 minutes to spend with you to get you ready. So our weather impact alert tomorrow from 6 in the evening until 11. That timing has not changed. That is when we really expect the brunt of the storm activity to move through. And it's going to have a little bit of everything. We're still talking about those strong winds. But that new factor was the tornado threat coming in.
Yeah, it jumped up a little bit. I think are we at a 2 out of 5 now?
3 out of 5.
3, but they even jumped to a 3 in portions up here. Wow.
And
significant jump.
A big jump. And not just the number, but they're now saying, that them being the Storm Prediction Center, some stronger tornadoes are going to be possible with this. So this is why, we're very concerned about what's going to go down here. So a couple of your resources. If you don't have it already, you have the Storm Track 8 app on your phone. Obviously, many of you are watching us right now on our 8 Plus app, which is for your smart TV, the streaming device. Those are going to be really, really handy to have, especially when it comes to actual storm tracking on Friday, because we're going to be doing a lot on air, of course, but we'll be doing even more on the streaming app that you can watch.
Yes, especially if we're not on air on typically what you'd see on Channel 8, we will be doing cut-ins on that app throughout the evening tomorrow.
Exactly. Yeah, and we're already planning on the whole team coming in. Everybody will be here except Morgan, of course. She's away from us for a little bit here. But all 3 of us will be here. Myself, Peter Warner, Chief Meteorologist James Zahara. We will be in the studio tomorrow evening tracking this potentially dangerous and damaging event. So there it is, that rare 4 out of 5 risk. That does include the Quad Cities Metro. You might as well lump us in there because we're right on the edge. But especially areas along and south of Interstate 80 are in that 4 out of 5. So what does that mean when you break down the threat for severe thunderstorms in terms of the coverage and the timing? If you look at these different categories, you've got everything from possible all the way to extreme. Now, we've had extreme before, and it hasn't been that long since we had a level 5. Could tomorrow go up to a 5? Probably not likely at this point unless we get more moisture and something else happens. But a 4 is nothing to sneeze about. Just because it's a 4 and not a 5 doesn't mean you take it less seriously. We call it a significant risk. If you go to the Storm Prediction Center, they call it a moderate risk. And what it means is widespread severe storms are likely.
Yes. And that's typically not something, again, that we see at this time of year. And to get elevated this quickly and this early is something you don't typically see.
Yeah.
I think we saw, we were watching some national coverage, and it said I think last time we saw 4 risk this early was 2022.
I believe so.
So just about 3 years ago, the last time we saw this elevated of a risk this early. That kind of just puts into perspective, and also how large the system is going to be is incredible too. I don't know if we can zoom out here a little bit, but yeah. I mean, impacting almost the whole state of Illinois potentially. So I'd say, what, around 2/3 of the state in that level 4 threat?
Easily, yeah. I mean, I would agree with you. At least 2/3 of the state of Illinois is included in that 4 out of 5 risk. That includes, our neighbors all the way down in St. Louis. I've got friends that live near Springfield. Carbondale is included in this, and it goes all the way down to extreme northeast Arkansas and northwest Tennessee and western Kentucky. So this is a large area, and it's not just for tornadoes. No. We still think the big story is going to be the wind threat with this.
Yes, and we got an elevated wind threat today here as well, didn't we?
We did, yeah, and we'll kind of poke through some of these different zones. I told you yesterday we were going to get these zones from the Storm Prediction Center, so here they are. Let's start with tornadoes first, and then we'll go into winds. So yes, we do have what we call this hatched area. It's that polka dot shaded region. That's where we have the potential to see those stronger tornadoes of EF2 or greater in intensity. That's winds of well over 100 miles an hour, and that can definitely cause some significant damage, not just to your usual farm sheds and outbuildings and things like that. We're talking damage to homes.
Yes.
And well-built buildings when you have an EF2 or greater tornado. And you see that potential is circled there south of the Quad Cities. So still targeting that same region. And even this, if we zoom this out, you'll see that this extends for quite a distance too. There's going to be quite a corridor tomorrow as this front comes through that could see quite a round of tornado activity.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible to see this, again, sort of system this far north this time of year. That's just kind of what I keep on getting, so surprised at is how quickly and early we're getting this system, and also how impactful this will be and what this low is causing, the extreme temperature gradient, not temperature gradient, but the pressure gradient we're seeing with this system here as well.
Very, very impressive. Here's the other thing that ramped up. So we ramped up the tornado potential. The wind speeds have ramped up as well, where you see the dark purple. It almost looks kind of black in appearance there, is where we are likely to see wind gusts exceeding 75, potentially 80 miles an hour. To the north of that is where you could see wind gusts approach that number. But even this corridor of the wind is extremely extensive. You can see that polka dot area indicating the 70+ mile per hour potential, but then you've got this darker area throughout much of the state here indicating that 75 to 80 mile per hour potential.
Yeah, it's widespread. I mean, and something again to take a look at. If you have friends throughout the whole state of Iowa, throughout all of Illinois, even out throughout most of the state of Missouri, that's all part of that hatch marking that you're seeing there for those potential 70+ mile per hour gusts, and especially in that darker color, the 75 to 80.
Yeah, it is very, very expansive. And also, too, whenever we get those kind of winds associated with thunderstorms, when severe thunderstorm warnings are issued, they usually get the destructive tag on them, which means you need to treat that as a tornado warning because you're going to get tornado-like winds coming through. Can cause a lot of damage. Let's put this in a summary for you on our threat tracker. Again, the timing hasn't changed, but you notice we have ramped up everything now. You've got a 3 out of 5 on the board for a couple of strong tornadoes. You've got a 4 out of 5 for wind up to 80 miles an hour. In some rare instances, it could be higher. It really depends on if the storms can tap into that strong wind pattern we've got aloft. And I'm still not really concerned about hail. This is still going to be mainly a wind maker and not so much of a hail maker that's coming through. I want to take you into that graphic that I showed you yesterday where we took you up into the atmosphere to show you the wind speeds. Do you remember this yesterday? Yeah, it's gone up.
It's jumped. That's about a 10 to 15 mile per hour difference in what we saw in just 24 hours ago.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So the winds are increasing. And again, that's not to say we're going to get 93 mile an hour winds here at the ground. But some of these storms, as they reach up into the atmosphere at about 50 to 60,000 feet, they can grab onto some of these stronger winds and they can bring them down to the ground here. So yeah, very concerning when you see that level of wind at that height that these storms could potentially reach into.
Yes, especially with the cold front that we're seeing with this and the colder temperatures behind it, that downdraft is going to be even more accelerated, or I guess expanded.
Exactly. Accelerated is right. Yeah.
Accelerated. More stronger downdraft, and that's what's going to be when you get that downdraft, bringing those winds downward towards the surface, and that's why we're seeing that potential for that 80 potentially plus mile per hour wind.
Exactly. Yes, I couldn't have said it better myself. That was perfect. I'm going to take you through a couple of different runs of Future Track, and we're going to do this on the fly because we want to show you a couple of different model scenarios. We're going to start with our in-house model first. This is the one that we use here at WQAD, and I'll show you the timing here. You can see that line of storms to the west of us at 7. It gets into our western hometowns, the areas west of the Quad Cities here, at about 8. There's 8 o'clock.
Look at that
Getting in
rainfall
Mount
potential.
Pleasant.
Yeah.
Yep. This is interesting too. If you take a look, let me see if I can get this to stop. Nope, it's not going to let me do it. I want you to look at that radar signature that's down by Mount Pleasant. Do you see how the model is kind of indicating this little bit of a bowing signature?
Yep.
That's where we're getting that wind component coming into here, where this line will occasionally bow out. You see another one there near Burlington as this line is racing to the north and to the east. That's another sign that, yes, we're going to be dealing with some strong winds with that. But you're also kind of seeing these little indentations at times.
Couplets. You know what couplets means.
Exactly. That means your rotation. So that's where we're seeing that potential too.
And even here at 10 p.m., you can look at that right as it's approaching the metro, that little out from towards Muscatine, that little bow right there. A little slight bow, at least just to the west here of the Quad Cities.
Let's see. Oh, there we go. I was hoping it would let me do it there. Yeah, we're talking right in there. See how it's kind of bowed out, and then you've got this little notch? That's kind of indicating some of that potential. This, I believe, is likely going to be some sort of perhaps a gust front, but I'm looking at the wind here coming and roaring out of the southeast. That will tend to limit that potential for a gust front to form, but still, it's very strong winds ahead of this storm system before the actual rain falls.
Yeah, it's going to be quick little squall line, and it's also still moving relatively quickly, this system as well. I know we're slowing it down here, but take into account, yesterday we were around, what, 50 to 70 miles per hour for this system?
On average, yeah.
Yes, I think it's maybe more, at least from what I've seen, more like that 50 to 60 potential now. It's slowed down just a tad, but still, that's a rapidly moving system.
It is very, very fast moving. It means once it gets to your hometown, it's going to hang out for about 10, 15 minutes and be done.
And the heavy rain could be gone like that.
So this is not, I repeat, not going to be a repeat of the derecho that we saw back in August years ago, where we have these winds lasting for 30 to 45 minutes. That is not going to be the case with that. These storms are going to be moving extremely quickly. They're going to be quick hitters in and out. There's the time of arrival, and there's your 6 to 7 west of the Quad Cities. Right here in the metro, I think between 7 and 8, and then between 8 and 10 as you go east of the Quad Cities, and then 9, 11 if you have any interests going into Northeast Illinois, into Chicago, where they are also kind of bracing for some really strong winds as well. But it continues to be a really impressive system. I think this graphic is updated if you want to see the wind speeds that are going to be associated with this. You can see how the low comes down from the northwest, rapidly intensifies. Winds pick up as we go into tomorrow afternoon. By the way, we have a wind advisory that begins at 1 tomorrow.
10 p.m. tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if that got upgraded to a larger portion of the area and also potentially a high wind warning.
Yeah, there's already a high wind watch to the east of the Quad Cities for the Chicago region, where they're expecting some strong gusts. Also, a red flag warning will probably come into play tomorrow too. We do expect very high fire danger with all of this wind and temperatures in the 80s, which means low relative humidity. And you might be thinking, well, if it's low relative humidity and moisture, why are we getting this severe weather? Well, the moisture and the humidity associated with it is not going to be increasing until later in the day. So early to mid-afternoon, we're going to have some critical to extremely dangerous fire danger. So no outdoor burning tomorrow. Let's not do that. Then there you can see the gusty winds continue as that line of storms pushes through. Now, Peter, you brought up a good point this morning in that looking at the model data, you know, why are we not seeing these 70 to 80 mile per hour wind gusts as the line is coming through? Why is Future Track not picking that up? Do you want to kind of explain, folks, what I told you this morning?
Yeah. So it's going to be, these gusts are going to be very short lasted. When you're seeing these gusts on the model here, this is over extended periods of times. Our time frame to kind of register that gust is a lot longer than these high wind gusts that we're going to be seeing 80 plus miles per hour. That's actually going to be a quick, it could be even as little as 3-4 seconds, but those even 80 plus mile per hour gusts at 3-4 seconds can be damaging, but a model isn't going to be picking that up. So again, you got to take into account that downdraft that we were talking about earlier. That's going to be real quick. I mean, you could even last, what, 5 to 10, 15 seconds, but that long of a period with that strong of winds can make a significant impact and bring potentially dangerous situations.
Exactly. That's all it takes. It just takes one real strong gust of wind to cause some issues, whether it's damage to your home, any of the other structures, or power outages.
Or power outages. That's what we're going to be.
We'll be tracking those tomorrow evening for sure. There's your wind advisory. Just to remind you, everybody's under it tomorrow from 1 in the afternoon until 1 in the morning on Saturday. Avoid burning anything outside. Fire danger is going to be very high. And again, like Peter said, I wouldn't be surprised if we got upgraded to a high wind warning. A couple of things I want you to keep in mind. We're preparing you again for what's going to come here tomorrow. The more prepared you are, the easier of a time you should have digesting this as we go through tomorrow. I know a lot of folks have storm anxiety. Again, the more prepared you are, the lower your anxiety should be. So this is some of the things you want to kind of think about. How are you going to receive alerts and warnings, especially considering some of this is coming in after dark tomorrow?
And that's what makes it really dangerous too. That's a significant impact is after dark. Again, you're not able to see these systems coming in.
Yep.
And all we can't be taking the beast out in these conditions either. All we have is radar signatures to kind of indicate these situations to you.
Exactly. So it's going to be crucial that we have spotters out tomorrow. I know there's going to be a lot of spotters in this region tomorrow. They are going to be a big crucial part in keeping us safe because, yeah, radar can show us some things, but it can't show us everything. Also, if you're like me and you usually go to bed early, you want to have a way to have something to wake you up if you get under a warning, whether it's your phone, whether it's your weather radio. You need something to alert you that something's going on that you can take shelter.
Yeah, I mean, and the Storm Track 8 app is a great option for that.
Yep.
Turn on those push notifications on the Storm Track 8 app and leave your ringer on, or you can even adjust it. I know on some phones, you can adjust what notifies you when you're, say, in sleep mode. Do that for the Storm Track 8 app. Make sure you have those push notifications on and that volume turned all the way up because it's a nice loud voice that'll wake you up.
It is, yes. It will jolt you out of bed, no doubt about it. And I'm a sound sleeper, so it will do the trick. Another thing to think about is once you do get that notification, where are you going to shelter? If you have a basement, of course, you're going to go there first. If you don't, an interior room away from windows is best. If you're in a vehicle and you're traveling, this is kind of a little harder to do at night, but a ditch or a low-lying spot, don't stay with the vehicle if it's coming toward you. How are you going to communicate with your family? Make sure your cell phones are charged. That's a good thing to have to see tomorrow evening. Do you have a meeting location, like a centralized meeting spot, in case you're all separated? You can all meet together and regroup in one spot. And also, you know, do they have that first aid kit? Everyone should have one of those. I've got one in my basement. It's filled with the water, non-perishable food. You got the first aid kit down there.
Yeah, first aid kit, food, snacks.
Flashlight.
Also, I think a great idea is, especially nowadays, get one of those portable chargers and charge that up ahead of time. I think that's awesome because say your phone is dying and you didn't realize it. That's a great backup alternative. If you have those portable chargers, usually you can get 2 full chargers out of one of those bad boys. Yeah. So really helpful to have one of those.
Fantastic idea. Yeah, those, and they're not very expensive. They're getting cheaper and cheaper.
Walmart, I think they're 15, 20 bucks now.
And they're worth it. They are so worth it. Should you be placed under a tornado warning, a reminder of where you should be going and where you shouldn't be going, underground is best. If you can't do that, the interior room, a room specifically that doesn't have any outside facing walls would be a good idea. The bathroom is usually the best for most folks. And yes, people have rode out tornadoes in bathtubs and lived to tell about it. The worst place, one of the worst places you can go is a garage. Typically, when homes are struck by tornadoes or severe winds, the garage door is the weakest point and will be the first thing to go. Once the garage door goes, the rest of the structure of the home is much more vulnerable because of the amount of wind that's able to rush in.
It pushes in there and it has nowhere else to go other than through in those situations.
Exactly. So that's when your roof becomes very vulnerable and other things like that. So just some good reminders of what to practice should we need to put that into place. A couple of things, of course, we know what watches and warnings are, but just in case you need a refresher, if we are placed under a tornado watch, which we very much likely will be tomorrow, that means that the ingredients are coming together. So we always say it's like making a batch of cupcakes. You've got all of your cupcake ingredients on the counter, but you haven't put them together yet. That's what we talk about a tornado watch. A tornado warning is when you put it all together, you bake it, and there's your cupcake.
So you hear that the dinger go off on the timer.
Exactly.
I like the cupcake one. I always grew up with tacos.
Oh, I love tacos too.
Taco watch, taco warning.
Tacos, I could always go for tacos. I never discriminate against that.
Either way, it's a great way and mindset to think about these warnings.
Exactly. Exactly. So lots and lots of info I know we're throwing your way, but again, we want to be as detailed as possible. Make sure you're prepared and ready to go. Again, this is kind of a little bit more of a dangerous situation because these storms are coming in at night. You're not going to be able to go outside, for example, in a tornado warning and easily be able to see one coming in your direction. It's also a lot dangerous for chasers too. This is where a lot of the seasoned veteran chasers are going to tell you, yeah, the beginner should probably set this one out.
Yes.
We're also talking about, like you said, Peter, the storm motions 50 to 70 miles an hour. That doesn't give you a whole lot of time to react.
No, when it's moving that quick. I mean, imagine a car coming in at 50 to 70 miles per hour. It's like a highway. It's like driving down the highway. That's how quick the system's going to be moving.
Yeah.
And it's, again, this is a potentially dangerous situation that we're keeping an eye on. It truly is here. And gotta make sure you're prepared and, getting those apps, tuning in here, 'cause this could be a really, I guess, dangerous one. We've been talking about it all week, but we saw those upgrades this morning, and we were a little bit.
And here it is.
Yeah.
In fact, we issued that first weather impact alert on Sunday.
Yes.
That's how far in advance we knew that this system was going to potentially cause us trouble. And especially, I want to kind of go into something really quickly. The last time we had, you remember yesterday we were in a 3 out of 5.
Yes.
But there's been other occasions where we've had these well in advance 3 out of 5s come through, these events. I haven't updated this to account for anything that's happened last year yet. So you notice it's kind of an older graphic, but I want to give you an idea of what we could potentially be facing as we go into tomorrow evening. So the last time that we had a 3 out of 5 risk that was issued days in advance, in this case here, it was April 9th of 2015, and this is what it resulted in. 3 EF1 tornadoes near DeWitt and Clinton, Fulton, and Thompson. Now that's a little bit further north than where we're expecting the tornadoes tomorrow. Yes, there was some golf ball sized hail, but look at the date. That was further into April. We don't think the hail is going to be that much of a big deal here. But that was interesting there. That was the deadly EF4 tornado that hit Fairdale, Illinois. I remember that. That was in near DeKalb, east of Interstate 39. That was a huge, huge deal. So a risk this high, this early, just to give you an idea of how rare this is and how much this means business, those are a couple of past examples. Now we had another one last year where we had a 4 out of 5 that was issued a day ahead of time, and then it went up to a 5 out of 5, and that was when we had the tornado outbreak with multiple tornadoes touching down near Geneseo. We had one near Kelowna, causing all that damage. So that's why I want to stress, a 4 out of 5, the folks at the Storm Prediction Center just don't toss them out like candy. This is really, it has to be a strong signal, a very consistent signal, and very high confidence that yes, we are going to see something. This isn't going to be one of those cases, and I already see it on social media on some of our colleagues' posts where folks are saying it's just going to be a shower again. You guys are always wrong. Nothing bad's going to happen. That's not going to be the case with this. Something's going to happen somewhere.
Yes, and as he said, level 4s, do not take them lightly. They're not frequently put out. We see what, I think on average maybe 2 a year?
If you're lucky.
2, 3 a year, level 4 threat. So that's how significant this is. And again, we can't stress this enough. The timing with this system brings so much more of a hazard than during the daytime.
The nighttime stuff
The
really
nighttime
gets
stuff
dangerous.
is where it gets even more dangerous than if it was during the day.
Exactly. Personal example of mine, my grandmother who lives in Rock Falls, she doesn't have a basement, she has a crawl space. So I'm going to be in touch with my mom later today, be like, hey mom, I think grandma should come stay with you. You've got a basement. Just because I'm getting this pit feeling in my stomach about some of the winds that could rush through here. So folks, if you are watching from a place that does not have a basement, keep that in mind. If you're in a manufactured or mobile home, may not be the best place to ride out these storms tomorrow evening, especially with this magnitude of wind that's coming through. So if you have a friend or a family member that you can stay with for tomorrow evening to ride out these storms, that would really be ideal. If you don't, you still have the knowledge of where to go to give you the best chance of survival if it comes to that.
Yes. It's all about being prepared with this.
Exactly.
Yep. I mean, we'll keep on stressing it. Don't be scared, be prepared.
Exactly. The more knowledge you have, knowledge is power in my case.
Knowledge is power, especially in these situations.
We're going to get through it. And of course, like I said, all of us are going to be here tomorrow night. We will be on the air and on the app tracking everything as it comes in. So we'll definitely have you covered. Let's get to our questions because it looks like there's quite a few of them that we can answer here.
Oh yeah, we got a ton. Mary was wondering if it's just going to be sunny and warm and can we go fishing? You're telling me. I've been waiting to go fly fishing for so long here.
Today would be a good day for that.
Would be great.
Very good day for that.
Day. Yeah, if you have the time today, go get that fishing done.
It's gorgeous today.
Donald was just wondering in general, what time will this weather arrive?
And when you ask those questions too, if you can please give us your location.
Give us your hometown, that would be great.
Yeah, because we don't have the time or the ability to really go in and look at your profile and see where you're from.
Yes.
So if you can let us know the location that you're from, that would really be super helpful. I'll pull up this map one more time
Just
so you can see.
Frame.
Yeah. And actually, I was going to show another version of Future Track too, so I'll do that while we're answering more questions.
Gotcha.
But there's your time frame. Metro Quad Cities 7 to 8, east of the Quad Cities 8 to 10, and then into Chicago 9-11. Before then, 6 to 7 if you're well west of the Quad Cities.
This next one is, Ellie was wondering, what about Woodhull, Galva?
Woodhull and Galva, you're kind of in the ripe spot to get not only the wind potential, but unfortunately the tornado potential too. Some of the data we were looking at this morning showing that some of these storms in that region will tend to have some circulation with them. So that's something we're definitely going to have to track as the storms move through.
Yeah.
Definitely in that risk.
Let's see. Peru. Let's get over to Peru. Dave was wondering about what can we expect in Peru.
Sure.
Further to the east.
A little further east. You're right on the edge of the 4 out of 5, but you're still in a 3. So we are still expecting some strong winds. We think, though, the farther east this gets, for example, when it hits Interstate 39, we think the wind threat will slowly be calming down a little bit more. But still, you have the opportunity, I would say, in LaSalle, Peru, easily to see at least 70 mile per hour winds.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think in general, a good concept, I think everyone across the board has almost the potential for those 70 mile per hour winds.
That's a guarantee.
Even at that level 3, that's where you get that 70 mile per hour wind potential.
Easily.
And that's what we're seeing here.
Easily.
Here's those wind zones. Again, we're all in that hash mark, the little dashed area that we're seeing with this system.
Yep.
Let's see. What about, was that me? I thought I might have.
No, that was me.
Oh. Matthew Lane was wondering what about Kiwani timing, and so I think Kiwani's around that 10 to 11 o'clock time frame, if I'm remembering correctly.
Getting a little closer to 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock, yeah.
Yep.
9 to 10. There we go.
9 to 10, yep. And still the same threats. You're in the tornado zone. You're in the high wind zone. Everything thrown at you your way there. All those threats remain the same.
Yeah. Tim from Moline wondering, she says, good morning, Tim. With all the potential severe weather outbreak possible, today is a good plan to, get your weather radio and flashlight and everything.
Exactly.
All get up, right?
Yeah. Weather radio sets you back, in most cases, $20, $30. You can get them at any hardware store. A lot of the hardware stores have them available.
Yes. And also, he did mention a good reminder of the kids as well. Yeah, make sure they're kind of understand. It's a good idea to practice with your family the day beforehand, because as we're getting into the severe season, there's obviously going to most likely going to be another opportunity for severe weather.
We're just getting started.
So it's a good, maybe today, even especially if you have the time, go with your family, practice your emergency preparedness for these severe systems.
Yeah, exactly. Good advice there.
Let's see. Sterling Rock Falls, the home of Andrew Stutzke.
Yes, the Sauk Valley. We are still expecting, the same threats. A little bit lower of a tornado threat when you're that far north, but you're not going to be out of the wind threat. And this is what we call the rapid refresh, the high resolution rapid refresh model. So different than our in-house model, but it has very similar timing getting it east of the Quad Cities around 10, 11 o'clock. So that arrival time is still very much valid. Getting a little bit more agreement between all the different models. But yeah, you're still going to be dealing with some significant wind as that moves through the Sauk Valley late tomorrow night.
Yes. Now what about Davenport? What's our timings here in the metro?
Davenport, still think the timing for the metro is going to be somewhere between, let me pull up that other graphic here, I would say 7 to 8, right in there. So just as it starts to get dark is when this starts to move into the metro.
Yes. And that's, again, the biggest, maybe the biggest impact. Added on top of everything that we're already seeing is no light outside.
Yeah. I will say I'm thankful it's not moving in during the evening commute, because that would be an absolute nightmare to have that scenario unfold while everyone is on the road trying to get home. We do not want that. So I think by the time this gets in here, most folks, if you're on a normal 9 to 5, you're going to be home, you're going to be settled in. But if you are traveling, like we've been saying, have the app. Or if you listen to one of the iHeart radio stations, as soon as we go on the air with severe weather coverage, we're on iHeart Media radio stations, all of them. WLLR, KISS FM, all of the biggies around here, we simulcast our coverage. So tune into an iHeart radio station if you're traveling tomorrow evening.
Yes, we'll be there. And and if anything pops up, we're going to be live for you. And also, again, get the 8+ app. It's free to download, watch on your TV.
Exactly.
We'll be there all night.
All night.
Full team coverage. Russell was wondering, do you see this upgrading to a level 5 out of 5 anywhere with the amount of growth and what we're seeing with the storm's potential going into it?
In order for them to make this, them being the Storm Prediction Center, to make this a 5 out of 5, we need to be much more certain in terms of the swath of wind damage. If we start seeing consistent signals that we're going to get widespread 80+ mile an hour winds, that could push it up. If we see that the tornadoes are going to be more frequent in coverage, if we're going to see more of those, that would push it up. Right now, I don't see that happening. That has only happened a handful of times, including, I believe, it happened once last year, and that was during that tornado outbreak that we had. So if the tornado signal grows more than what we're seeing today, that would push it up.
Yes.
But we're not seeing that right now. And you touched about this earlier. It's the level of moisture.
Sure.
Those cloud heights are just a little bit too high. If we had some lower cloud heights with more moisture, it's a lot more conductive to get that circulation to touch the ground.
Yes. It's all about those dew points when it comes to these situations.
It's hard to get, juicy dew points this time of year.
This time of year. Yeah. And I mean, if you notice the fire risk, we're going to have low fire risk throughout a lot of the day tomorrow because those dew points, they're rushing up with those south winds that we're seeing. The moisture is coming in out of the Gulf. So we aren't even going to see that buildup of the moisture till around noon till later in the afternoon.
Yeah, it's going to come later on in the day tomorrow. Good question.
Good question. Let's see, and then could this turn into a derecho? No, we are not thinking derecho with this situation.
Yeah, it's really hard to forecast that in advance.
You can't even tell if it is going to be.
Exactly. You have to wait until after the event. This is, though, as I said earlier, it's not going to be a repeat of August where these winds hang around for 30, 45 minutes. It's a quick in and out. It's at your location, maybe 15 minutes at most, and then it's gone. But that doesn't mean the damage is any less impactful. You can still get some damage.
Oh, yes, you can still get damage. And also, I don't think the band is going to last that long to be qualified as a derecho as well.
This would have to go clear into Michigan and Indiana and probably Ohio to meet the length requirement. It's got to be some 250 plus miles.
I think it's 250 plus miles. Yeah. And so I think I'd have to go from Des Moines out to, say, Indianapolis, maybe?
Yeah, pretty far.
300 miles, a 6-hour drive, I kind of give or take 300 miles.
Yeah.
So
don't think it's going to make it that far.
Don't think it's going to make it that far.
Stranger things have happened, though. We'll see after. But right now, we're not expecting that.
Shall we keep going?
Yeah.
Let's get
we got time.
Cheryl was wondering about Galesburg.
Galesburg, yes. Let's put the timing back up there, and we can put the maps back up there too. Again, Galesburg, we think about the same time as the QC Metro because this is going to be a bending line of storms. It's not going to be a straight north-south line. It's going to be bending from northwest to southeast and kind of have that little bit of a curve to it. So same time as us here in the Quad Cities. Galesburg is also in that hot spot right in smack dab in the midst of this 4 out of 5 risk, and you're also in the strong tornado threat risk for tomorrow as well.
Yep. Again, south of I-80, that's what we're really keeping an eye on.
Yeah,
that's portion of the viewing area. That's the hot spot for sure. Let's see. Laura said that thing, the thing said 50-mile-per-hour gusts at 1.1 on Friday. Yeah, we could be seeing gusts that strong on Friday, potentially the afternoon.
With the wind advisory, that's right.
The wind advisory, that's what we're pretty much meeting the qualifications for that. So yeah, even leading up to the storm, it's going to be a windy day as you get that large pressure gradient making its way through. Yep.
Again, like you said, don't be surprised to see a high wind warning to get us to get upgraded. That is very much possible.
Kathy was wondering, what's about $15 at Walmart? That would be one of those portable chargers in case of emergencies.
Oh, yeah, the portable battery chargers.
Yes. Those little plug-ins. You can plug your cord to charge your phone right into it.
Yep.
It's a great idea for these severe weather situations in case you lose power.
Yes, that way you still have your cell phone. You still can get information. You can contact emergency services if you need to. Yeah, I love that you brought that up because they're very inexpensive. No. You can pick them up at pretty much anywhere now. Drugstores, big super centers. Good thing to have in your kit.
Good thing.
Get it in there. Just make sure it's charged before you put it in.
Yes, that one and fresh batteries in your weather radio.
Yes.
Be safe and get both. And they're both inexpensive.
Get them all. Yep.
Get the whole kit and caboodle.
There you go. Yeah. It's your favorite phrase.
It's my favorite phrase. The whole kit and caboodle. With this being such a powerful storm, if a tornado watch is issued, could it be issued as a PDS watch from Tyler?
It very much could be issued as a potentially dangerous situation, tornado watch. Whether that happens here, we'll see. I think that's more likely to happen further to our south.
Yeah, southern Illinois, potentially.
West central down to southern.
Yeah. Like St. Louis area potentially could get some of, they're right in the heart of this level 4 threat.
They are. I mean, as you saw earlier, it extends all the way down to the south. So I think that is absolutely a possibility, not a guarantee, but do not be surprised if that is the case tomorrow.
Let's see. We've gotten some Sterling, so a couple more Sterling questions, maybe a quick reminder on what their timing is looking like.
Yeah, we can go through the timing again for those of you that are curious.
Yeah.
There's the timelines, about 8 to 10 for Sterling Rock Falls. It's a little bit bigger of a window here because a lot's going to depend on how far west these things form. There's some data that suggests they'll form kind of near where you're covering, near Des Moines.
Yes, so the band is actually looking to develop right around. You're going to be seeing individual cells making their way through central Iowa. Then that band kind of forms from the northern portions of Iowa into the southeastern portions of Iowa. That's where we're going to kind of see that band develop right around that, I'd say 6 to maybe 7 o'clock time frame is when that band's going to pick up, and that's where we're seeing the most severe potential with the system.
And I'm going to try and load that back up here because we can kind of play around with this on the fly. I'm going to delete these settings that we have in here, so you can see kind of how this is going to progress. And it may not let me do it. I thought I had it in there correctly, but it's going to be like, you know what? I'm not going to work because you want to use this on the air right now. So I'm going to change this setting here, and hopefully this works.
The house model, yes.
We're going to get the house model back in.
Selection.
And we'll get it to view, and there it is. Okay, so let's back, this is at 7. We're going to go ahead and we're going to back this up even more. Let's start this at 3 and see how things look like. So this is 3.
And see, there's those individual cells making its way towards Des Moines. And then by the time we get towards 6 o'clock, notice how that band is going to start to slowly develop here. This actually is a recently more updated model. Let's change on
This is the new run. Yeah, I think this is the coming up on the 10 o'clock.
Yeah, this might be the new model that actually just jumped up on us, because before it was developing further north of Des Moines up towards Ames and then making its way towards Waterloo down towards Ottumwa. But now this latest model is actually changing a little bit on us.
Mm-hmm. And the line looks a lot more solid than it did before too. Earlier.
Developing before it reaches us here, still bringing the same amount of winds, but more solidified line by the time it reaches the Quad City area.
Yeah, that's impressive.
That is.
Very, very impressive. Still kind of a similar arrival time, you know, getting west of the Quad Cities around 7, into the metro around, 7, 8, and then 9 o'clock and points east later in the evening. But yeah, still very consistent signature with that wind.
Yes.
Very much so.
Wind's staying the same, and the timing and impacts on the Quad Cities has not changed really with this latest model. Even maybe potentially more heavy rainfall with this, if anything.
Yep, that looks good. Excellent.
Yes.
We usually go to a morning meeting at this time, but that meeting usually goes till 10, so we have a little more time.
Yes, we want to try and make sure everyone's prepared as much as possible. Let's see. When should the wind start gusting, Tyler was wondering. And is it okay to have, he has a fire tonight?
You could do it. I don't see a problem with doing any outdoor burning tonight.
I think outdoor burning's fine.
Yeah, I don't see any issue with that. The strongest winds start tomorrow afternoon.
Yes.
So right after the noon hour, when folks are getting ready to go out for lunch, you'll notice the wind.
Really pick up, and that wind advisory starts at 1 p.m. tomorrow as well.
Exactly.
Let's see, what time for Lido? I believe Lido, I'm trying to think. Were they 9-ish?
So Lido is about the same time as the Quad Cities.
Yeah, 8, 9-ish time frame.
Just about that same time frame.
Yeah, there we go.
Right about 8, 9 o'clock for Lido.
Yes.
With that coming in.
Let's see. Derecho, no, Hunter. We are not most likely seeing a derecho with this system.
Yeah.
Sebastiana, I think I'm pronouncing that right.
You got it, right?
Is this anything much like the EF1 that came through Rock Island a couple years ago with respect to that level 4 impact?
Yeah, it's kind of a similar setup. I remember that went down in that region. We had a couple of tornadoes that day, and the ingredients are very similar. Again, there's 1 or 2 of those that could get a little bit stronger, but yes, it's kind of a very similar setup to what we saw on that day.
Yep.
The only difference is, instead of it being during the day, which that one was, this is coming at night.
Yes. And again, we want to keep on emphasizing this. Nighttime situations bring much more of a hazardous situation because you're not going to be able to see these systems going through. It's more harder for reports to come in of these systems coming down. We can't go out in the beast in these situations. So make sure to stay prepared and make sure you have that Storm Track 8 app you're tuning into us here live as well with this situation.
Definitely complicates things, that's for sure. Makes it a little more challenging. Yeah.
Yes. We got a couple more here. Justin's wondering, can this fall apart when it hits the river?
That's not going to be the case with this one. No. And the river, as we've said numerous times, does not have any impact really on severe storms. The reason the majority of the storms fall apart coincidentally at the river is because they form way too far west. They'll form in western Iowa, and they'll use up all the energy and all the juice, and then they get here after dark and fall apart. That's not the case with this, because this event is not driven by daytime heating necessarily.
No.
This event is driven by wind shear, which is only going to increase after dark. Notice I said increase after dark.
Which you typically don't expect. That's how strong this front is in this area of low pressure. I don't know if we have that pressure gradient we could show still.
We can, yeah, absolutely.
just to put into perspective how deep this area of low pressure is, look at that gradient. Look how steep that is, especially on the back end. Look at that from Pierre out towards Sioux City. Look how steep the pressure gradient is there in terms of millibars. That's going to cause significantly impactful winds. You're even seeing a steep gradient on the eastern side of this low as well as that system tracks through.
Exactly. Look at that near Chicago, how tightly packed those lines are. Those are what we call those different levels of pressure, and the closer they are, the stronger the winds will be. And the other thing we have coming into play too tonight is you're going to get a low-level jet. And that increases the shear even more. So that's why, again, this is not going to be an event that's going to be driven by heat or even storm energy. I think I still have that graphic that I showed yesterday.
Yes.
How, this isn't going to be gangbusters worth of storm energy. Before this even comes in, and here's the actual data. Let's pause it right there before 7. Look at the storm energy.
It's barely in the moderate range.
Yeah. Usually to get those gangbuster tornadoes and really strong derecho type things, you need more energy than that. The dew point also in the 50s too, so we do meet that requirement. This was a little bit higher earlier. We're on a timestamp that's ahead of it now. But this is a shear-driven event, so it's driven by wind. It's not driven by energy from heat. That's what this event is why it's different than something we would see, say, 2-3 months from now.
Yes. How do you think the tops of the cloud cover will get, or the tops? Mary was wondering. I'm assuming cloud cover here.
Yeah, these thunderstorms, anytime you get these racing through, you're talking 40, 50, some cases 60,000 feet up into the atmosphere.
Oh, yeah.
We're still in the early stages of the warm season, so you're probably not going to see a lot of 50s, or excuse me, 60s, but you will see some 40s and 50s easily. Yeah, no problem.
We saw how strong those winds were even at 18 and 10,000 feet.
Yes.
So think about
very, very strong.
Yes. Very impactful. What about Danville, Illinois? Michelle was wondering about that.
Danville, yes. So that'd be the Chicago suburbs.
Yes.
As you get a little bit further east there, it's a level 2 out of 5 risk for you, where we're still expecting winds up to 60 miles an hour. But we think by the time that line gets all the way over here, right before Lake Michigan, it's going to be losing its oomph.
Yes.
Yeah.
That timing's later in the evening too. So luckily we will start to see a little bit more of an impact on the evening impact. I guess the overnight impact later into the system as it starts to develop or decrease. Weaken.
That's the word we're looking for.
It's been weakening. Busy week.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. What about timing for Peru?
We went over that earlier, LaSalle, Peru. I'll throw that graphic up one more time here. And Bob's your uncle. I don't know where that phrase came from, by the way, but there you see it there. 8 to 10 looks like right between that time frame for LaSalle, Peru. Same threats.
Same threats. Everyone is pretty much dealing with the same threat, it seems like, with the system.
Pretty much. It's wind and a couple of tornadoes. The only difference is depending on what side of the interstate you live on.
Yep, exactly.
North, it's a little lower. South, it's much higher.
Much higher. Either way, though, be prepared and be ready.
Yep.
I think that's all we got. Jamie just said a thank you, so thank you, Jamie, for watching.
Oh, you're so welcome. Yeah, more of these are planned. I'm sure James will have an update coming up as well. Don't forget to tune in to his forecasts this evening. You've got the 4 current with Shelby Kluver.
Yes.
We'll be going over that. We get another update to the outlook for tomorrow, by the way, after GMQC at 11. It's at 12:30. So we're not going to be able to show that on the 11 o'clock newscast, but certainly that's something I know James is going to talk about coming up later this afternoon.
Yes, I'll have that on the 4 o'clock. Yeah. We'll have the 5 and the 6.
That's right.
And the 10. And then we'll be back. He'll be back here for GMQC.
Yep.
Tomorrow, and then we'll be back for another at 9 o'clock, correct?
We're going to do another one of these at 9 o'clock. Bring your questions. We'll see what's changed in the data. My hope is the wind speed's lower a little bit, but at the rate we're going, it's probably going to increase a little bit more. So hope that isn't the case.
Higher.
Yeah, keeps trending higher as the storm system is trending stronger. So we're going to do our best, of course, to keep an eye on this for you. And everyone, as I said earlier, will be here at the station tomorrow evening tracking this as it all rolls through. We're going to be a little tired, but you know what? That's not going to stop us.
That's what nap time's for.
That's right. That's why we take a nap beforehand. So you can expect full coverage from us, not just only here on the 8+ app, but likely on our social media and also on the air. So that's everything. Hopefully you need to get prepared for tomorrow. Stick with us. We'll continue to track it. And don't forget our weather impact alert starts at 6 o'clock tomorrow evening. We hope to see you back here for another update tomorrow. And of course, I'll see you on GMQC at 11. Stay safe, Quad Cities.
Continue with us and watch free now on the 8+ app everywhere you stream.